And it looks like we're live. Happy Friday, Scott.
Happy Friday, Dave. How are you?
Dry, but not by much. You?
I'm moist.
Yeah. It's raining and thundering up here, guys. So I'm going to give you the first of two warnings on mine. If weather takes me out, I'll contact Scott by phone and we'll make a plan because his will probably still be running and vice versa.
Right.
And later on, I'm going to give you another reason why we might glitch out. But other than that, I am just peachy, keen, fine, up early, working hard, prepping for the show. Then I realized this morning we had a show today. It's been a busy week for total work. How about you?
Yeah, it's almost out of control.
I'll give you a chance to tell everybody out in a couple of minutes.
Yep.
So, hi, everybody. It's Dave Rush and Scott Jernigan, two stalwart employees of Total Seminars, who is kind enough to give us a couple hours off. That's nice, Scott. Every Friday to come and talk with you guys about extending and expanding our training opportunities when we're locked down at home because of these pandemic conditions, and to use the Raspberry Pi computer as a tool to aid in those discussions, or in those studies. Let's go with better than that. Raspberry Pis are great educational tools. They're great fun tools in their own right. Sometimes we do lessons or presentations, better yet, that are just on point. And this is what you can do to help pass A+. And sometimes we go to the opposite end of the spectrum, and this is how you build a roller coaster. And most of the time, we meet in the middle.
Right. And it's all fun.
Yeah. So tell us about yourself, young man.
I am beyond knee deep in Network Plus, and my editor is starting to freak out, and my publisher is starting to freak out, and so somebody needs to spend more time writing, less time talking, and having fun with you guys. So, yeah.
Are you trying to tell us something, Scott?
I am trying to tell you something. This is my last drama. So I'll be here for a few minutes this afternoon, and then bug out. I'll still be in the background in case something glitches, and Dave needs me. I will certainly be available. But hey.
Well, we're going to look at this as a sabbatical while you thrust yourself into writing. I'm sure when you get caught up and maybe even ahead of the game, you'll join us again and for specials and things like that.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that's good news, and very sad news that we're losing your presence here. It's a really good thing to have. They love you here. I love you here, and I would love one of these days when you're feeling like you got 2 hours to kill to join up in the same way that you've been working with Mike lately. We'll share a table and do some real honest to goodness banter.
That would be fun.
That is just a total fun.
Very fun.
Hey, so before Scott goes into the wild blue yonder of word processors and thesauri, do you use any paper books as you research editing things, or is everything an online resource now?
Do I use a thesaurus and a dictionary, as in like old school paper?
Absolutely,
yes.
Thank goodness. Okay. Yeah. And New York Times Style Guide, I'm sure, and all of those other good things.
All the above, yeah.
Very good.
And Strunk and White's Elements of Style, all of that, all paper.
One of the best author names in all of human history. I got your Strunk and Wife right here. I grew up as a child with my set of Funk and Wagnall's dictionary, which was the punchline of many not dictionary, encyclopedia. Punchline of many a sitcom in my youth.
Absolutely.
Well, should you like to get in touch with Scott, whether or not he's joined us here live on stage, working behind the scenes, or at any other time for any other reason, you can do that. He is accessible via email right here at scottj@totalsem.com. As am I, Dave R. @totalsem.com. And if you want to talk to the great Mike Strami himself, you can do that because he's Michael M. ready for this? At totalsim.com.
Shocking. That's shocking, Dave.
And I'm not going to read through the rest of it. We've done it a million times. You can pause your screen if you miss some of that other contact information on there.
So what do you got going today, Dave?
I've got to shovel out some mulch that overflooded from my garden in the oh, you mean here on the show?
I mean, here on the show.
Here on the show. Well, we're going to finish up mostly this 3-part series that we've been working on. We put an emulator on our Raspberry Pi last week, an x86 emulator. And then last week we overclocked it and cooled it to deal with the overclocking. And so now we've got all of the pieces in place. Now we can run Linux programs that weren't ever intended to run on a Raspberry Pi, but were instead to run on Linux distros on x86 based machines. So got a cool one or two.
x86 programs running on an emulator, running on ARM.
Right.
So, very cool.
And at a reasonable clip. Some of the stuff, not so much. Some of the stuff you wouldn't even know.
Crisis.
Yeah, that's always the first thing I test.
0.1 frame per second.
I may extend this into next week. This is so cool. This is stuff I've read about and maybe tinkered with a billion years ago, but not to the depth that I've done of late. Getting Windows things to work on a Raspberry Pi is doable with our old friend Wine,
Nice.
because Windows adds this extra layer of complexity, the windowing environment and various pieces associated with that.
Right.
So we add another shim chunk of software and now we can run Windows stuff on there. And that just,
cool.
We even, as part of today's exercise, we have to add one little minor windowing type shim so that it'll work in a window. How's that? We'll explain it when we get there.
All right. Sounds fun.
All right. Well, anybody join us today? So I was pretty busy before we got started.
We have quite a few people on.
Yeah, there's more people posting than there are watching now. But
wait, what?
I suspect that some people have poked in, made a post, and bailed, but they'll be back, I'm sure. Yeah, see, they've heard this conversation already, and even now, another one just popped up. We have 4 people watching, so there may be more. Well, something interesting happened here the other day. I was futzing around with configuring the thing, and on Wednesday, there was comments up already, or I guess Wednesday night, Thursday morning, something like that, whenever Kathy set up the stream, and Tullowit and Andre had posted almost the instant that the live thing had been programmed.
Nice.
So I said, I responded to it, and then immediately their 2 posts disappeared. And a day later, I checked and mine had disappeared. So I think there's kind of a time limit on how long these posts will stay up.
Right.
I thought there might have been a scroll limit, a quantity limit before they start to drop off. But now I've come to think it's a time. Should actually research this and understand this stuff that we're doing, huh?
Right. Because we've only been doing it for a year.
Yeah.
Plus, yeah. Actually knowing what we're doing. What kind of geeks are we?
I think everybody knows the answer to that one.
Right.
We speak in Old English and techno and combine the two in a fusion of confusion.
Yeah, that's right. And throw in some Latin just because,
Just because. And Alice turns up and she adds Roman.
Roman.
Well, Zach's here. Andre's here. Greetings. Chunkier Fish. That's a new name for me.
That's a new name for me.
He writes it as if he were here before learning while cleaning. So, okay. So welcome, Chunkier Fish. If we know you from earlier as another name, or if my Alzheimer's kicked in and you're here all the time and I just don't recall it. Playing with an IPPTZ camera. Andre has been playing with cameras for 2 months now.
Hey, cameras are cool.
Cameras are totally cool. I started playing with a new camera just this week for one of our labs.
Nice.
What else? I can keep an eye. Hey, let us know when you have to bail, but as long as you're here, I'm engaging you.
I'm supposed to be writing right now.
Go right. I got this for now.
Okay.
I'll call you if anything bad happens.
Okay. Awesome.
All right. Grazie, amigo.
Hey, folks.
Hey,
Take
we
care.
have enjoyed your joint, your co-ownership of this for all this time, and it'll still be dramas long after you're gone because we know you're still in the background and you're
Yeah.
here in spirit.
I am. Oh, yeah. Have a great show. I'll check in.
Thanks. And everybody, feel free to message Scott. He'll be keeping a half an eye on the feeds, I'm sure. So if something comes up, he'll either write you or we'll find some other way to communicate back to you.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Scott.
You betcha.
And I am passing time mark 132 for check-ins with chunkier fish. That must be helpful, checking in from work. Yeah, we got folks check in from work and from home. And while they're driving, Patricia Grace is a regular here. She often checks in while she's driving back to the house from the office or something of that nature. Chunkier fish 135. Yeah. Well, I know. I think no Tullowit here. There he is. I did a musical pun just for him on the basis it was here, but he turned up late. So he'll have to go back and read it and add to it, I'm sure. I know the background's dark. When I set it up, it wasn't so dark. I have a window here on my right side, and I put usually just a white piece of kind of linen cloth over it to diffuse the light. And that's not enough. There's so much light comes through and right side of my face just gets hammered. So now I have another gray piece of linen over top of that, which was great when I was setting up this morning. And now with the thunderstorms here, it's darkened everything. And the only thing lighting my face is the hard light here. All right, that's a little behind the scenes stuff. Inside baseball, as they say. Greetings, Alan Duggan at 153. And Tullowit turned up at the same time. Scott turned up. 210. No glitches allowed. That's my hope. I haven't third hunder in the last 5 or 6 minutes, so maybe we're okay. Yeah, he didn't get a chance to mention it. Scott had a one-on-one intimate personal meeting with his barber yesterday, and he is just lighter and skippier. Yeah, I should have brought that up. Sorry, I'm already used to seeing it. So we had 2 meetings so far today. Hang on, I just super scrolled. Hang on, said Zach at 2:03. I just missed that. Why is it your last drama? The rationale, if anybody missed that, was I didn't even get to bring this up. I got the first draft of the new Network Plus objectives 3 months ago, maybe something like that, maybe even a little longer back than that. And then it's my job to find all the matches and mismatches of the current Network Plus versus the new Network Plus. And then I hand that off to Scott and Mike, and they start writing. Except this was really much earlier than we would normally start writing. And of course, Scott and Mike were both knee deep into Sec Plus. Nonetheless, Scott, go-getter that he is, said, I want to start writing as soon as humanly possible. And so he starts working with Mike and splitting a little bit of time away from Sec Plus when he can and starts laying this out. But it because of his other workload, it just didn't go well. Well, then here comes time to actually start writing. Sec Plus is off the plate now. The guys take a couple of minutes to catch a breather, and then they start writing. And their initial thought was that it's not going to be much of a rewrite. And then we all got together and we looked very closely at the document I created and said, oh my gosh, there's a lot more real rewrite going on here. There's a lot of stuff that goes away under assumed knowledge or under the fact that it's now been adopted in A+. So Scott is already, even though we've just started writing, feeling way behind on the rights of Network Plus. And we've kind of mentioned this in the past. We don't write books because it's fun. We don't write books because we get paid for it. Sure, there's truth to that. But the bottom line is we are under contract with our publisher, and they say, hey, we want you to write a book on such and such topic. It'll be the next one in your series, so you're the perfect authors for this. And then they're the ones who look at the initial work and say, okay, well, you got this many chapters, and based on the fact that this is how many pages were in the last book per chapter, here's a timeline. And they lay down a timeline, and they crack the whip. So every Friday, Scott and Mike have to talk about what they've done so far and what they need to do. And it's a very high pressure thing for the next however many months it will take them to complete this book. All right. Mike's example of somebody asks what time it is and I tell them how to build a watch, huh? So yeah, it's his last on-screen drama, and he told me when we were on the phone about this yesterday that's probably going to be the case with his joining Mike, as he's done for the last 3 or 4 weeks. Man, that's been a lot of fun. So he'll still be backgrounding. I'll still be backgrounding for Mike's. Pardon me. Oh, Patricia Grace. Welcome, nerds. Greetings, nerdette. Everybody's greeting them. I'm a nerd and I'm proud. Come on, you got to do that with a Monty Python tune, man. Go lumberjack mode. Andrew Hutz is here. Greetings, mon amigo, known in otherly worlds as someone green. Sup, dude. What was that commercial? What's up? Cameras are not cool. I had to maintain a whole power station's worth. It's not fun. Yeah. Yeah, they're great when they're working and when they're not. My wife is among many other hats that she wears, she's a park ranger. And they just got cameras installed 2 months ago or so. They haven't worked for the last 3 weeks for one of them out of the 30 some odd cameras that they have. And contractor after contractor after contractor, oh, we'd fix it, but that contractor hasn't done their job yet. And yeah, you can beg him all you want, Andre. He writes books. This is a hobby. I'm late because I was on the phone with director of IT for Urban Outfitters. How very cool. You can wear that vest, that ammo vest. Oh, you're home today. Nice, Patricia. Ooh, yeah, gives a discount. I like that giz. That's a word I've not seen done before outside of spoken. Tully was like 2 days early. Yes, he was. Oh, come on. I super scrolled right when I was going to get to a Tully pun, if ever was. I can't see the moon thing. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's I think it's kind of lightening up a little bit there. It's Imagine Dragons. Everybody knows at least one song from Imagine Dragons. I know two. The hair and beard are white. I know. It's and I may have a 2-week class that I've got to go do here in the next couple months or so. And it's an outfit that last time I was there, everything was brown and short. So I'm debating if this comes to pass, if I'll brown up for a couple of weeks and shorten up. We'll see. I tell you what, it only turned this white in the last 2 years. There was still salt and pepper 2 years ago. I used to blame the kid. Hey, you made it white, but he hasn't been here for a couple of years now, other than summer break. Leveraging contracts to build a network. That's the way. Yeah, and I accepted your friend request, your LinkedIn request. He had some great advice. He's good friends with my cousin's husband. Okay. Yeah, we know your cousin's husband, so he's a good guy to know. Did I amuse myself? Yeah, just Scott's last drama. I'm sticking with it until Mike says no mas. And Mike never says no mas, so he might say no more. Well, that's one full wow. I really wish there was a way to put some kind of tag on here that says responded to below, so I don't have to duplicate somebody else's effort. Reading questions. Alex is here, and yes, she's going to miss we're all going to miss Scott in these presentations. But again, he's in the background. You write him a message, he's still writing responses. I'm seeing that happen as we speak. And ciao to you, Alex. Ciao Bella. Is Ciao Bella more departure and ciao is an initiation? Let me know for sure. I'll pop into Discord. Good. Oh yeah, he's got Discord running beside his machine all the time. Buonasera. I knew that one. How do I know that one? Because I've been in a couple of Italian operas. And there's always a buonasera in there. Trying to think of the one night right now where there's a specific buonasera, buonasera. Bohème, La Bohème, which, yeah, that's Italian, not French. Okay. Whatever it takes. There you go. That's good. Radioactive. I like Radioactive from the not the Fix power station. Radioactive. What are we going? What are we? Very good, Telewit. All right, I'm caught up with all of das cuestiones for the moment. Oh, okay. Yeah, same if you add Bella. Ciao Bella is a greeting, hello, and a greeting goodbye. Gotta be. I'll take it on faith with that one until I see something else. All right, I'm going to lock that up there at 2:21. And let's open up the outline for today. Hey, there it is. That's a good outline today. Oh, by the way, well, no, I'll cover this one I covered in the outline, so I don't have to bow. 2. So notes. I keep saying this is the 36th in the series because Kathy keeps a playlist of Mike's AMAs and my AMAs, and I was looking at it lately, and a couple things that weren't AMAs have slipped in there, and so they got added to the count. Some of you may recall Mike and I did a little 1.5, 2-minute shindig in December describing what our December and January schedules were going to look like, and that wound up in my AMA, and as a numbered item. So that was one that wasn't, and there was another one that wasn't, but whatever. So I think as far as actual AMA goes, I counted them today. This is number 36. So we got a ways to go to do our 100th anniversary show, right? We meet here. This is Pi Day Friday. We call it drama. Dave Rush, Ask Me Anything, and Scott. He's here in the background, so he counts, so it'll be dramas. We meet here every Friday, 2 o'clock Central Time, Central Savings Time, or Central Standard, whichever it is, to talk about using the Raspberry Pi as a tool to continue our studies and as a fun tool in its own right. On days that aren't Fridays, Monday and Wednesday, Mike uses this same time slot. It's his time slot to do the Mike Meyers AMA, talk more general about CompTIA certifications and technologies and things like that. And he's kind enough to offer to Scott and I this 2-hour slot on Friday. He's always a very busy guy on Fridays and prepping for weekend activities and things like that, and keeping the business running and things like things like that. So we're here for the next 2 hours. Today's special. I got to bail right when we're done. I have a huge commitment that's going to take me from 5 p.m. till 10 p.m. tonight, and then again first thing in the morning working on that, and probably till noon. I won't bail early unless we get really dried up, but I won't be able to make Discord today. Apologies for that, but I will let everybody know about Discord so we can get more people. 271, I think I counted last night or this morning when I was on. We did the contact info. Moving on, we've checked questions. So I often say, hey, you don't need a Raspberry Pi to do some of the projects that we do here today. In fact, most, of the projects. But today is a special case. The last 3 weeks, our whole goal has been to set up a Raspberry Pi so that it can run programs that were never intended to run on an ARM-based computer. like the Raspberry Pi or any of the other single board computers out there that are Linux oriented. So the last couple weeks, my prep time, while time consuming, has not been difficult. It's all been very plug and play. Today's was not very difficult, but man, it was a very last minute thing. Company work, a couple projects got assigned to me this week, and I had literally zero time to do any prep other than to read the tutorials and hope that when I got around to doing them, they would work. And I got up at 5 this morning in preparation for this gig I got tonight and tomorrow. And finally, a little after, I don't know, 10 o'clock, I'm done with all that nonsense. I'm doing company work and said, okay, I got to spend a couple hours here prepping for the thing. So I went to one of the tutorials and followed it step by step. And oh my gosh, it worked first time out. It's a little time consuming, so I'm going to have a lot of stuff pre-done. But I am just walking on cloud 9 about this and all the things that it opens up. So show you what I mean shortly. I have turned on my archive website, pirsquare.zapto.org, just the letter R, PIR square.zapto.org. Last week's show is archived and ready to download. I did not archive this one yet because I was working on it at 10 o'clock today and got it working around noon. And then there's all kinds of prep and everything else. And that does not get counted in the prep time. It takes about 20 minutes or so to prep up an archive, maybe a little longer than that. But that 20-minute was not in my time budget today. Oh, let's stick this up just for hoots. Share this. Bingo. And I've been working on some other things on that web server. I am extending and expanding my knowledge on how to protect a web server and a network so that I can leave it open 24 hours. I've made baby steps and maybe even some bigger steps, but it's got a little ways to go yet. So you can find me at PireSquare. Also, if I mention that we want to review something in the archives, all the AMAs are in the archives, the dramas and Mike's AMAs, and you can find that here, youtube.com, whack user, whack total seminars channel. Okay, 2 out of the way now. We did contact, we did PireSquare. Next time we come back and we'll talk about the unofficial Discord channel, which has already got some mention. Oops, not that document. This one. Okay, so that's open. It will be open until I get back from the gig tonight. That may be as late as midnight. And if you're watching this, hey, I got a typo here. QU. That's why it's a good thing not to have these done. That's one of the reasons that I shouldn't, and probably will not have the archives done a day in advance. I sometimes find typos in my notes, so I correct them as I'm speaking. So better to do this afterward. Anyways, where was I going with that? Web server late tonight. Yeah, it's gone. It'll come back to me. So where have we been? 2 weeks ago, we started this process by installing a program called Box86. Box86 is an x86 emulator. And I have described it in the past as allows us to run programs designed to run under Linux in an x86 computer on an ARM-based computer. And that's true, but it's a little more broad than that. It's an x86 emulator. It doesn't necessarily have to be Linux programs that'll run on there. Anything that's designed to run on an x86 processor, in theory, could run under Box86. Now, if we want to try and run, I don't know, any command line stuff from the Microsoft world back in their old DOS days, that'll run natively on here. We don't have to do anything. If you want to run Windows stuff, Windows applications and programs, there's one more piece of software that we've got to add to it. And I'm thinking about doing that in a week or two, just to really extend this thing out. How to run Windows programs on a Raspberry Pi, Windows programs that were designed not to run on Windows systems for Linux, WSL, but on good old-fashioned, boring Windows x86 computers like Windows 10. So that program is called Wine, but we're just sticking with x86 or Box 86, the x86 emulator, and Linux programs for today. So 2 weeks ago, we did that. We installed Box 86. There was nothing really to it. Click, 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 and it happened. Last week, we did two things. We said, if you're going to want to run these Linux programs, well, with the emulator going, that adds a good bit of overhead and CPU processor time. So the stock 1.5 gigahertz CPU is okay, but it's probably better to run it a little faster. So we overclocked last week. We ran it up to 2 gigahertz, the maximum theoretical top speed of the processor in a Raspberry Pi 4 is 2.147 gigahertz, 147 megahertz higher than 2 gigahertz. But there's some stability problems, there's some crashing problems, there's some booting problems with that. So we backed it down to the nice, very stable speed of 2 gigahertz. Now, if he's sitting there just doing nothing and clocking along at 2 gigahertz, he doesn't get very hot. But when you ask him to do real work at 2 gigahertz, he can get really hot and get so hot that it'll slow down. They call that throttling. And that happens in Raspberry Pis at about 85 degrees C. So we added and did some performance testing and stress testing. A very good active cooler. I've got an ice tower here on this system, about $30 worth of really big heatsink and radiator assembly and a fan. And yes, some of you pointed out last week that it changes RGB colors. I'm looking at it right now over my right side, and it's not actually changing. Oh, there it goes. It just changed from blue to green. Okay. So I got that plugged in this morning because I don't run it all week long unless I'm doing something strong with it. I have this paranoia that the fan's going to run out or burn out, but they did ship with an extra fan. I don't know if that's just a niceness on that part or if that's because, yeah, they always burn out. But with that thing running, with our ice tower running, we can run this thing stress tested, all 4 cores running at top speed, and the thing barely breaks 50 degrees C. So we can run just about anything on here we want, max CPU power for as long as we want. So the thing we're going to do today then is, now we've got an overclocked and cooled Raspberry Pi. We want to run Linux apps that are designed to run on an x86 system. All right, and that catches me up to that. Let's go see what happened with questions whilst I was yammering. Let's see, I can do this and shrink that out. Ooh. Okay. So I finished off at 221. There's a few new comments, a few new people. Wow, lots. Dave, Bella means beautiful. Yes, I am aware of that. But I have heard the phrase Ciao Bella used on many occasions. There we go. I love when that happens. Thank you, Alex. Ciao Bella is funny. We don't really use it. There are so many of those stupid, misused phrases that are done in books and movies that aren't really used. You saw it on Monday. I got into a little language war with Scott and Mike on the YouTube feed and on the back channel as far as the use of mustachio in Mexican Spanish goes. It was used in every 1950s and 60s movie in which Mexico had featured actors and portrayals. And mustachio is always a commonly used word. It is not a word used today in any of the Spanish-speaking folks that I know and work with and I'm friends with around here. Anything other than a pencil micro mustache or the one that your 13-year-old nephew is trying to grow is a bigote, bigote. It ain't a mustachio anymore. Outdated term, antiquated, and funny. Thank you, Alex. I will never say Ciao Bella again, except when I'm saying that I won't say Ciao Bella. John Lehman, greetings. Just dropped by to say thanks for all the effort. Total Sim. I accepted a role this week at a firm in hardware cybersec capacity, and I thought of you today as I'm modifying 200 Raspberry Pi 3s. Write me, John Lehman, Dave R at totalsim.com. I want to talk to you, actually. I will call you. I want to hear what you're doing and how you're doing, or write it up in an email if you've got the time and inclination. This excites me a lot. The most that I ever reset at the same time is a dozen for one of the road classes that I do. And the way I do it is not the most efficient way, but I'm usually sitting at my desk and this kind of works. I start with one Ras Pi and I configure it. I make a template effectively. And then there's a couple ways that I can do it after that. One of the problems with my template is I set a static IP address, I set a name, and then when it's all set and I'm very happy with it, I plug in to my USB port an SD card reader, plug in an SD card, micro SD card, plug that in, and then I clone it. And I do that for the dozen or the other 11 units that I have to make. And then I get each Pi and plug it in with one of the cloned micro SD cards, and then I change the IP address and change the name. That's the only other sub customization that I need to do. There are other ways. They may even be a little bit better. But again, since it's just something that, okay, that's done, I'll swap out, check, change, and off we go. So I'm very curious, and congratulations on the new job. And if you can tell us about it, what they're doing with 200 Ras Pis and why they're doing 3s instead of 4s. It's just, I'm ecstatic. I cannot wait to hear about this. Zach, jumping in, nice, Alex. Yeah, very, very cool. I'm feeling the need for you to do a presentation with us. You may be my next, if you'd be interested in talking about that on Zoom, I would love to bring you on. Commitment. I would put a picture up on Discord next week of the stack of boxes. Cool. All right. Well, Scott has posted a link to the Discord channel at 225. So let me do the same here. Our links may be a little bit different. They both work. There's just something funky about the way Discord does this. So there is an unofficial Total Seminars Discord channel set up by our good friend, Jose Braden. Total Seminars has nothing to do with this. It started out as about the Total Seminars AMAs and has expanded well beyond those boundaries. Wonderful group of people. They're smart, people studying for various CompTIA certifications, people who know so much they don't need to study for these kinds of things. We got they have lots of different subforums on there. In general, we try to turn up after the AMAs with cameras and mics and encourage you to do the same, and we'll get face-to-face. Again, apologies, that's not in my wheelhouse today, but please pop on over, sign up, and expect to meet with us on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays after AMAs. And you don't have to wait for us to be there. You got comments, you got questions. It's a very, very active forum and always interesting topics. 5 interesting topics from the time I went to bed last night at close to 2 o'clock this morning to the time we went on air. Oops, what did that just do? Oh, I see. That and that. Okay, that'll be the last page that we have to do on that. Back to questions. Man, that sounds interesting. I'm so stoked. Iman, but any admin there can freely change it. I didn't know an admin could change somebody else's name on Discord. I would never want to change somebody else's name. That's an expression of your individuality. Thank you, Tullowit. I love this shirt. I have been saving this one. This is my fusion shirt with Hawaiian style and chili peppers. Yeah, I'm not going to say jalapeno face out loud. Oh, I did. Justin Miller just bought the new Security Plus 601 that Mike and Scott wrote. Thank you very much. They can pay their mortgage this week. That's a pretty book, isn't it? I love that blue book. All right. I can say so far, it's a good read. I hope Scott's reading this. Yes, he is. He's done an awesome after this. Once I've read through the first chapter, I'm going to go back and take notes. That's the way I do it. I am a serious note taker. We have a gent on Discord right now who's been showing us his organizational procedure. He reads it from online, his Kindle book or whatever, generates a PDF, prints it, and then highlights and tabs and indexes the hard copy. Very opposite of the way we kind of envisioned history would go, this grand paperless society that we were going to be in. He's taking us back, but it works for him, so kudos. How have you got it? It doesn't come out till after a few days' time on every website. No, it's available right now on Amazon, Zach. You can order it this instant. I don't know how long it'll take to ship to you in grand old England, but. And I don't say that to insult the nice folks and their nice accent there. Great deal of respect for those in the UK. Oh, fair play. Yep. Alex is talking to Zach at 2:33. And lots of back and forth. I'm just driving right by when I see ats that don't have either my name in it or I have the Total Seminars account active on another tab, but it only exists so that I can start the stream and stop the stream. It's the same in any language, absolutely. Oh, man. There's a phrase, a greeting in Arabic that once you understand it, it's no big deal. It's a normal everyday phrase. But when exclusive English speakers hear it for the first time, and I include myself in this, a buddy of mine was yelling this to strangers in some instances, and it has a word that or a syllable in it that can be construed a little racy in some language. And he yells this, and dude, you are going to get our heads cut off. No. And I researched the word and understood it, and okay, you can do that. But he was still just saying it so that he could get away with using the racy syllable because he's an idiot like that. I love the guy. That screen didn't mean to be hateful, Alex. Of course not. Nobody here. Tellowit, dictionary.com claims Ciao Bella is. Do we need to carry this on any further? A friendly, sometimes flirtatious way to address a singular woman or a friendly way to greet a close female friend. Okay. I'm still never going to use it again. My wife doesn't speak Italian. I'm Italian. I'm about a third Italian, coming from the Angeli branch in South Central. Reading questions, chow mein. I've been doing that chow reference in here ever since we met Alex. Andrew Hutz, I want 200 Raspberry Pis. I do too. You completely outnumbered me. I got about 100. And yes, I suddenly have the desperate urge for more. And I hope that you cluster them all and make the 5th largest Pi cluster out there. Greetings, Jason Helms. Nice to see you, mi amigo, at 2:36. Alex talks to, Tellowit talks back. Alex, how? I don't even want to do it. I'm disappointed. Alex said she was going to be on Discord tonight, and I'm going to miss it. Well, morning for her, right? Yes, always ask a native speaker. Unless you're a trickster like me. I will tell you what anything you ask for means and tell you totally wrong, just to get you slapped. Pineapple goes on pizza, as does ham. We made homemade pizza this week. Haven't made it in over a year. The missus doesn't particularly care for it, so I got the whole can. Arr. Who am I kidding? I put rings on them. I like the little crust when you roast them. Jolly out, yes. Passing 241. Scott's waiting for his Mexican pizza. Thank goodness. I was really hoping we would resurrect the pizza discussions of days gone by. John Lehman 242, Dave, regarding the pies. I will have to check regarding NDA, of course. That's fine. You can tell them that I can keep pie secrets. That's such a lie. Something interesting about a pie, and I got to spread it. So, yeah, don't tell me anything I'm not supposed to hear. Start or stop the stream. Just don't cross the stream. It's plural. Don't cross the streams. Good tip. Zach can take it. He's got tougher hanging around here. Are you kidding? Gotten tougher. He's tough, man. He's one of the toughest guys I knew from the onset. And he says he's not. Fine. I'm not going to call you a liar about your own self-assessment, but you have toughness. Tell me more, Zach. I'm messaging with you. Hope I'm doing good. All right. We have achieved endness there. It's quarter till. Back to outline. I think I had some stuff in there. Did that. Still waiting for my cooling stack from China, 22 days out. No hurry. Did that. Hey, that was it. There was no really interesting news of the week that I thought was worthy of sharing. So I have a section here that I do next called Old Unanswered Questions. There are 2 old unanswered questions. They weren't from Raspberry Pi. We answered Alex's last week about honey pots on pies. We did it here on the presentation, and then I sent her the info because she wasn't online with us last week on the Discord channel. So she's got that. And I haven't experimented with any of those, Alex. I have read them and I found them interesting. So if and when you experiment with them, I would appreciate a report. See what you think of how easy they were to install, easy they were to use. Were they effective? There were a couple unanswered questions that came up in Mike's forum, but I've looked at them. They really don't fit here at all. So I sent them to Mike as a reminder that they come up. So we'll see if he gets to take a shot at them on Monday. 47. I will tell you something interesting. I don't know how far to carry this. I was on a Reddit forum the other day, and a gent asked a question about running Docker on Raspberry Pi. And I said, hey, by amazing coincidence, 3 weeks ago, we did a Docker presentation on Drama. And here's the link. And I did a couple back and forths about the presentation, not about its content. It was, thanks and what's the timestamp, stuff like that. Okay, cool. And we could probably let the story end there. But then some goober, this became a very long Reddit thread. So some person came on and added his own editorial aspect that on why it was such a horrible thing to run Docker on Raspberry Pi. And so I said, look, I didn't take a position on this. The question was, how do you do it? And I said, I did a tutorial on how to do it. But he couldn't let it go. And yeah, but why would you? And it's a foolish thing to do for this reason and that reason. And so since I started down the path of communicating with him nicely, I continued to do so. And completely agreed with him in the most beautifully sarcastic way that it took him 4 long exchanges before he figured out I was yanking his chain. It's not my normal way, but that one, I'm not confrontational, and I don't want to call anybody a jerk, even if I think they're a jerk. Lots of people call me a jerk, and I deserve it. But if you get into looking into Reddit, you'll see a really fun exchange. And I got a lot of karma points out of it. I don't know what to do with karma points. What to do with points? So I have never put money into cryptocurrency. Very happy to say that, because it's taking a beating right now. I use Brave, as most of you know, and it pardon me, it generates BAT, a kind of cryptocurrency for accepting some of their specialized ads. No big deal. And I don't know, I have 50 bot, whatever they are. And the exchange rate on that a week ago had me at $75, which is enough to buy a Raspberry Pi 4, 8 gigs. And I was getting ready to pull the trigger. And then Bitcoin took a big bite and it dragged all the other cryptocurrency down with it. So what was $75 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, something like that, a week, yeah, whatever it is. I looked at it this morning and it was under 60. So I don't care. It's $60, and it's not like I ever put actual money into it. It's just money that I never had that I don't have today. But I'm hoping it recovers enough to get back to $75 so I can buy my Pi 4 without putting any real cash into anything. Lemonade. My dry cough is fading, but it's still just a little bit there. Well, let me show you. Hey, I did that. Let me show you the tutorial that I'm using today. And I didn't extract the steps from this and put it into my timeline. I basically copied and pasted it right into my timeline document here. And then as I did the tutorial, I made notes in there. So that's what you're going to see when you download the archive in a day or so, or whenever you get around to doing that. So let me show you the tutorial that I followed. You can follow along with it right now directly if you so choose. When I say show you, what I mean is I'm going to show you the link. Hey, there it is. Today's Zoom tutorial comes from PiMyLifeUp.com. It's called Raspberry-Pi-Zoom. This tutorial is a two-part tutorial. We've already did part one, and we use a different tutorial to accomplish it, but the steps are exactly the same. Part one is how to install Box 86, the x86 emulator, because the only Zoom clients that exist right now, I guess there's three of them. There's one for Mac, there's one for Windows, and there's one for x86 based Linux. So there is none, there's no Zoom client that's been written to run natively on an ARM-based version of Linux. So you've got to put an x86 emulator online first. So I'll show you that as we continue on here. Again, you're welcome to follow along, PiMyLifeUp.com/raspberry-pi-zoom. And with that, it is, I'm going to wait till the hour. It makes my my indexing a little bit easier. Well, that's self-serving, isn't it? Yeah, so be it. And good, I super scrolled so I can go catch up. What is this? Scott's got something there. I can't wait till we get there. Oh gosh. Is this going to be the recipe thread? All right. It's like me when you say that you're shy. Honestly, I'd pay to be shy as you. Oh my. Taco meat. All right. What is taco meat? I mean, is that hamburger with the horrible stuff you get in the packet? Or are you talking about skirt steak that's been charred and beautifully seasoned? Different animals. So, okay, he's got taco meat, jalapenos, Mexican cheeses, spicy tomato sauce, grilled peppers, grilled red peppers and onions. That's a taco, man. That's not a pizza. Drink more. Not advice I recommend for everyone. That's right. I don't care if courage is liquid or from internal. Courage is courage. Okay, way to go, Alex. Thank you. They call it liquid courage here. Hey, we're of the same mindset. All right, what did Scott send here? A link to something. Do I want to click on that? See what it is? No, it's a YouTube. I don't want to click on that. Kajagoogoo reference. Yes. Tellowit talks to Alex. Andrew Hutt looks like it's climbing back up a bit. Oh, okay. I didn't check it today. I don't think it. No, I didn't check it today. I've been running like a weasel. Do weasels run? Hey, Nigel's here. Greetings, Nigel. At 252, I figure throwing an 80s song reference, at least the old guys will get them. Yeah, old guys like you and me and Scott and one or two other people here who are over 30. Thank you for the mirror line, Andre. Alex talking to Scott. I will cook your pizza and then find some very brave friends to eat it. You're going to need a good, chewy red wine to go with that. You're going to need a Chianti, Lambrusco, something like that, because that is not a recipe for the faint of heart or for the faint of wine. I have a whole bunch of horror movies lined up, and the line just keeps getting bigger and never gets shorter. Recipes. Yeah, let's say recipes and ask if Tullowit would be interested in chiming in, Mr. Classically Trained Chef. No, you are missing something major, Tullowit. You cannot make homemade tomato sauce without white wine. You got to cook the tomatoes almost bare first and then deglaze with white wine and use that. Discord after this, people. Hopefully everybody, I've got a commitment. I will be running out the door at 5 minutes after the show stops today. I apologize for that. I will be back in the sling on Sunday and certainly Monday, of course. Small can of tomato paste. Yeah, okay. Chianti goes with fava beans. Too easy. Low-hanging fruit, Tullowit. Jiminy Christmas. All right, close enough to the hour. So let's talk a little bit about today's progetto. I can shrink that. I don't need you anymore. So I did a lot of this in advance. And by advance, I did it this morning. And it wouldn't be a real big trick to go through it in real time with you. The big problem is I didn't have the time, to set up a fresh install. One more, so that we could go through this in real time. So I'll show you the steps. Some of them I can actually recreate, and we'll write out the time on those. But all right, so I'm over at the website, piemylifeup.com/raspberry-pi.com. It's kind of a half truth. I've copied the entire contents of that page over into here. Oh yeah, what is this? See, typos. Got to fix my typos so they'll do their thing. So we'll follow a tutorial directly from the website. The tutorial is broken up into sections, and each section starts with fresh numbering. So the very first piece of it says, before you can proceed, make sure you've compiled and installed Xbox or Box 86 for your Raspberry Pi. All right, we did that 2 weeks ago, so fine. Every Tuesday, I am sitting here working, and however many Pis I got up and running in the house and here on the lab, Tuesday is my go-to day to do update upgrade. So connect to one, sudo apt update, ampersand sudo apt -y space upgrade, go. And then I break my connection with it and do it on the others. And 5 of them I even have set up that I can do it with one command and all 5 take care of it at the same time. So cool. Tuesday, I'm completely up to date and nothing changes between Tuesday and Friday, right? So I'm good to go on Friday when I'm ready to do final testing. So I'm making notes today. So we'll follow the tutorial directly from the website. We've already completed step 1, which was installing Box 86. And step 2. Step 2 says sudo apt update followed by sudo apt full upgrade, which is overkill. Sudo apt upgrade is just fine. So since I did that on Tuesday, no big deal. And then I ran down to the first actual step where we had to do something. It was step number 3. It was a sudo apt get install command. And about 5 lines, it said, unable to find some reference, can't connect to this IP address. And that really threw me. I said, well, wait a minute. I have internet connections. I would not have been able to do any of the other things that I've done on the Pi today, including doing some searches for a fresh Firefox install. I was able to do that. In fact, that was the problem. It could reach out to the repositories. So I knew I had internet connection. But if this was a Firefox install, it wasn't the first step of the lab. It was, I needed to install Firefox to do an experiment. And it choked after 5 lines. I can't do something or other. Well, fortunately, I've seen that choke or similar chokes in the past. So I thought, well, maybe something has changed since Tuesday. So I ran a fresh update and upgrade. And sure enough, instead of what should have been about a 30-second, okay, all done, it was a few minutes worth of here's some new stuff, here's some new stuff. And then I was able to successfully install Firefox. So whenever we want to install a new package, new software, new applications, don't skip. Do the update, sudo apt update, and the upgrade, sudo apt upgrade. And then you can install Firefox and everything else. So that one really threw me that it happened, that there was such a significant change that I couldn't install something so common after just 3 days, 4 days, whatever it is. All right, so that's step 3, 2 and 3 on here, update and upgrade. So they take us to step 3, and I'm going to, can I do this? Yes, I can do this. It's not going to hurt anything. It's already been done once, but it only takes a second. And if you're trying to do it again, it'll say you're already current. So let me make a connection to my computer that's running Box 86. Password is Raspberry, RASPBERRY. Yeah, okay. Now let's share it, because they always told me it's nice to share. Hey, and there we go. So the name of this computer for the last couple of weeks has been Rasbox 86. I'm logged in as Pi. And step number 3 tells us that we are supposed to run the following command. And I like Pi Up My Life for tutorials. They're not always perfect. They don't always work right the first time because of formatting and other issues like that. But one of the things that most of their submitters do is they explain what's happening in each step. And if I didn't already know that, the stuff that I've seen explained is pretty darn useful. So this first lab that we're going to do today, and maybe all we get to today, we'll see, is to install this Zoom client that was designed to run on an x86 distro of Linux. Most distros, but the one in particular that we're going to follow through is one that's designed to run on a Debian or a Debian spin-off distro like Raspberry Pi OS. Remember, it used to be called Raspbian because it's a Debian fork, they call that. Well, if you've ever used Zoom as a client, or if you've hosted a Zoom meeting, you know you can start on the website, especially if you're joining, and it'll say, hey, you got to run the app here, launch it, or I'll auto launch it, or whatever. And so, okay, you do. And most of us are running Windows computers. So what comes up is a little windowed box with the client in there. And that's where you sign in if you're joining an existing one, or it's where it starts the hosting if you're going to host one. Well, in order for that little windowed application to work in a Linux environment, we need this program, libxcb-xtest0. And it's not interactive. It's a background program. You can see that I already installed it. When I installed that one in the past, I time all these things just to see how awfully long or awfully quick they happen. This one is the slowest one of today's labs. It takes about 2 minutes, and it really drags. It sometimes it freezes for an inordinately long time, and you think it's frozen. It's not. Give it the 2 minutes or more if you're going to run it on an older Pi, or if you've got a slower internet connection, whatever the case may be. But for me, I got a normal, moderate speed internet connection, and of course, we're running a 4B overclocked to 2 gigahertz. All right, so that's step number 3 of the first part. The Zoom client uses this library to interact with the X Windows system. All right, so Pi's prepared. Now we're actually ready to install the client. And this is really slick because all we have to do is the steps say first to cd space tilde. Now let me do this with you real quick. Present working directory, or print working directory. Some people say that stands for. I'm in the home directory. Tilde is a shortcut that means home directory. So there are 3 ways to get to the home directory at least. You can say cd space /home/pi. Didn't get an error message, so I moved somewhere. Where did I move? Right where I was. You can also do what they say, cd space tilde. Where did I wind up? pwd. And you can see actually right here is a tilde. So that's the shortcut in many Debian distros for getting there. And then the other way, in this particular Debian distro and a lot of others ones, let me do a clear here, is if you just type in the cd command with no parameters, no matter where you are. Let's go to someplace wacky. That doesn't exist yet. Okay, so here I am in the etc dhcp folder. Anything in there? Dir works. If I just type in cd, no parameters, there I am back in my home folder, pwd. So all that instruction is doing is making sure that what you're about to accomplish, you start in your home folder, CLS. All right, so what do they want us to do? This one takes a tad of explaining. Maybe you don't remember, but Box86 is an emulator that only works on 32-bit versions of ARM Linux. And that means any programs that we're going to have to run have to be 32-bit as well. They've got experimental 64-bit versions out there, but if we installed a 64-bit version on here, Box86 wouldn't work. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get a zipped up file. Oh my. Oh, I see what happened. Good thing we fixed this. Bump. Okay. An extra typo. We're going to use the wget command to download from the Zoom website a zipped up set of files and programs and such. Let me show you this and remind you what's going on here. So wget means go get from a website a file or a collection of files or whatever. So wget, it uses the get command that is found in the HTTP command language. And it tells me where to go get it, zoom.us, whack client, whack all this stuff, whack. Here's the file name that it's going to get, zoom_i686.tar.xz. So a tar file and an xz file, those are both examples of zipped up compressed files in the Linux world. Let me see how long that takes to get. If it's not too long, I'll hit the enter key on here. And did I make notes on that one? No. And what the heck? We'll just do it. Doesn't hurt. Now I already have a copy of this in here, so it's going to overwrite it. And then while that's happening, that's really quick. It's done. Look at the instructions. Maybe I'll show them to you on mine if you're not following along. Oh, yeah, okay. Here's a place I can show you this. Unshare that. Share this. Oh, heck, I got a smarter place to go share. Don't do that. Cancel this. Go here. Go here. Yeah, I'll show you the live page. Share that. Click, share, share. Okay, so here is the command that we just ran, wget https and all that space and all that stuff. And all it does is copies down that one file into our home folder. And then he says, please note, this may not be the latest version of Zoom. So he gives you a method to go and get the latest version. What Zoom does is they always put the latest version in this file. The author may not have known that. So I downloaded this morning for the first, not for the first time, but I checked it. It was posted on April 16th, which is the current version. So it's always fairly safe to do this. And even if you're a rev behind, unless some weird security method happened between then and now, this is a good link. Okay, so what do we got? We've got a compressed file in our folder. Let me show that to you. So here's the file that we just did a wget on, that we got Zoom i686. These are the files that we used to make the performance and temperature graphics last week. This is the file that I had. I downloaded. Let me get rid of that thing. rm zoom star.1. Okay, so here's our live file. And this is a folder that's going to get created with the next step. This wouldn't exist at this point if you did this install. All right, so back to the website, back to the instructions. And let's see what step is next. I don't want to go there. I want to go here. There we go. All right. So now we're going to unzip that thing. We're going to decompress it. We're going to use a command that's used in Linux to both compress and to decompress files. It's called the tar command. And whether we're compressing or decompressing a file will be determined by the switches that are used here. These are the standard decompression switches, XVF. So, okay, we'll tar it, we'll zoom, and I'll do this thing. It's going to overwrite everything that I have in the Zoom folder. In fact, you know what? Let's go really crazy. Let's get rid of that Zoom folder altogether. rm -rf zoom. That's a really dangerous command. If you use it, make sure you're where you think you are and that you're doing what you think you're doing, because you can wipe out your entire system in just that quickly. All right, so the Zoom folder is gone now. All we've got is this tar file, this XZ file. So we're going to extract it with tar XVF, name of the file, hit the big enter key on here. And this one takes a few moments. Let me see my notes and how long it does. Might take, it's not long, 20 to 25 seconds. But it hangs on this libq data for a long time. There we go. It's done. ls. And there's the Zoom folder. And before I take you in there, let's just follow the instructions, because that's the next step, is to go on in there. So Zoom is now extracted, made its own new folder called Zoom. And the next thing we've got to do is make it run. And we have to tell it to run, or it has to find out how to run, something like that, in x86. It's got to believe that it's talking to an x86 distro. Well, that's the cool thing about Box 86. Box 86 says, I'll be out here watching for anything that's making an x86 call. If it doesn't, I'll leave myself shut off and the calls will go to native Raspberry Pi OS. But if it's an x86 Linux call, I'll have everything directed to me. So we don't have to say, run this in Box 86. We just run it as if it were run any other way. And it'll say, oh, look, I see an x86 Linux distro there. I'll start talking and working with it. So that's magic. Now, what we're about to do next has to be done on a computer with a graphical interface. There is no text interface, of course, to do Zoom connections. So here comes my second warning of the day. I have run this successfully. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. I set up a Zoom session on my Windows machine. I set up a Zoom connection from my Pi to here over the internet, and everything worked great. Now I'm adding a third dimension to it, and that's the feed to YouTube. So if I choke, don't give up, stick around for 2 minutes, and I should be able to come back. And if not, keep sticking around while I'm working on coming back. I'll call Scott, get him on to preserve the session, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so what do we do next? We follow the instructions. So to launch Zoom on your Pi, you got to make sure you're running the graphical part on your desktop. We need to change directory that we extracted in the previous session. So if you look at the instructions, they do an instruction that is guaranteed to work no matter who you are and no matter where you are. So it's a good instruction. You guys are pretty savvy about this stuff, so you may not have to do this. I know where I am. I'm in my home folder. And if I do an ls, I can see that the Zoom folder is right below me. So to get into it, all I have to do is say cd space Zoom. But if you don't know who you are, if you don't know where you are, if you don't know how to get in there, if you don't know how to navigate with the cd command, they wrote a command that will work beautifully every time, everywhere. We just give it a full path to the Zoom folder, cd/home/pi/Zoom. And there we are in the Zoom folder. What's in there? All kinds of goodies. But one of the things in there is a bash file, zoom.sh. Now, if I were going to do this and run a Zoom session on here, excuse me, I would probably open up a fresh command window, a terminal session, and do it in there because it's going to lock this one up. Now, that's not a big deal if it doesn't. And when I say lock up, it's not going to hurt anything. It's just going to make this only usable to do what we're trying to accomplish here. And if I needed to get into a terminal session, I could always launch another terminal session. So it really doesn't matter. Open up a new terminal session and launch Zoom from here, or launch Zoom from here. And then if I need it later on, I open up another terminal session. Okay, the next step says do it. Now, let me mention a couple of notes that I made on here, because all we got to do is do one command and it's going to happen. Note, I have audio muted to avoid echo and feedback. So that makes sense. And again, I'm not sure it's how we're going to react with an embedded Zoom session in VNC in, I'm worried, but we're going to do it. You are going to see when you launch Zoom this way some errors. There are certain libraries that it expects to find in the x86 Linux distro that aren't here. They don't hurt it. Ignore the ones that are just warning messages and that go away or don't ask you to do anything. And if there's any error messages that says, I wasn't able to do this, okay, you click the okay, and don't worry, it will work. So here we go. All we got to do is run this command. It takes about 10 to 15 seconds for my machine to launch this thing. Come on, you're such a pain. I'm trying to copy and paste, and the way the web page was that when I snagged it from here. Makes it a little challenging. Clear the screen so you can see what I'm doing. Real simple command, .whack zoom. And here we go. We hit the enter key. Again, 10 to 15 seconds it took me to light it up last time. I've got some added layers of software with VNC and stuff going on. So we'll see. I had VNC going last time when I did this. So there was some kind of error message that popped up right away. Error, send error, invalid argument. Doesn't matter. It's working. Don't sweat it. Move that out of the way and move this. So they want me to join a meeting. Let me go over and get the code for this Zoom session, which I have over here. Click that, go into here. Click this. There's the session number. And I'm going to need the passcode on here. Okay, we know the passcode. All right, so we join the meeting. And I'll move over here. It says, give me the meeting ID. So, okay, I'll paste it into there. And see some errors are getting thrown here. Don't worry, everything is working here. And what name do I want to call this? Dave's Zoom Pie. I don't want to remember my name for future meetings. I don't want to use audio, so I don't get feedback here. And I'm going to join. Got to put in the passcode. Joining, making headway. And so I will join with video. So it's showing me the preview. This is a different camera. It's right next to my primary camera. You can see it's got a little more left face look. So I'll join with video. Here's the big moment, whether or not I get thrown off. So this, what are you doing there, Bo? I'm sharing and sharing and sharing and sharing, and things are getting bad here. That was an unexpected consequence. When I did it before, it didn't. It just keeps opening windows to infinity here. So I'm going to close out of that before it eats up all the memory in the computer. And then when you get done with the Zoom session, this thing is still locked up. There, we got our join meeting again. I'll close out of this. And I kind of figured when we closed out of that, this would return to the prompt. It didn't, so I'm just going to do a Control-C. And bam. So there's a couple things that are going on here that are just knockout amazing. We just ran a program that was never designed to run on an ARM CPU, and a sophisticated program, a program that uses video and audio, and it does it with this, I can't say simple program, but simple to use program, Box86, because we didn't have to do anything to it other than download it and install it with a little installer program. Now it's living in memory and it's doing its thing when it needs to, and it's not doing its thing when it doesn't need to. And we can therefore run almost any Linux program that's designed to run on an x86 Linux computer. That one was a very sophisticated one. Games are the obvious next cool one, right? I'll leave that running there for a second. So that's cool thing number one. Cool thing number two, because of that repeating opening screen with my sharing that was going on. Oh, that's why. Yeah, could I have done that any other way? Yeah, I could have. If I unshare this screen and do that again, let me try that. Because I want you to see one other thing. Okay, I did not kill everybody out. That's a good sign. All right, I'll talk you through what I'm doing here. I'm reconnecting to my server because I disconnected from it. Not my server, my Raspberry. I'm not sharing it with you, but the result you should be able to see when we get cooking here. .whack zoom. And here goes the 15-second loadout. I know you can't see it. I should take you up to the point where we connect, huh? Nah, it's not going to take that long. It's not worth it. Patiently waiting along. Okay, here comes the thing. Now notice when it said join a meeting, it was in Windows. It's not Microsoft Windows, it's X Windows. All right, I got to go copy paste the session information again. Pasting it in. There we go. Dave's Zoom Pi. Oh, I got to cancel it. I typed in something very wrong and I need to fix it here. Okay, join meeting. Try this again. Paste. Dave's Zoom Pi. Get rid of the remember. Disconnect audio and join. That's not going to join. What did you just do there, goober? Hang on. It's working. It's just doing something creative. There we go. Okay, we got that. We got that. We got that. Now we join. Okay, it's joining. It's asking me for my passcode. We join the meeting. So this should turn up when I complete the join, just like Scott would have appeared with me on the feed here. I'll join with video. And I get a different view of it than you do. I've got 3 different screens in there. All 3 have a different view than you do. Okay, good. I'm no longer. Yeah, I've asked it to do too much, so it's a little unstable. When I ran this morning, it wasn't jumpy. Let me see what that looks like on the YouTube page. Get out of there. Oh, it's way behind. I gotta refresh my YouTube page. Oh man, you are just doing terrible, foolish things to me. I hate getting creative with this thing because it's now just reconnected itself on YouTube with Mike's account. So I got to reconnect with my account. But that's actually not looking the worst that it could. Again, it looks a little jumpy here. It's just because we're asking it to do a lot. But this is just magic. I mean, if you're not seeing the magic in here, you're missing something really amazing. That's fairly good now. It's a little bit on the low frame rate side of the world, but it's doable. And you can host a meeting like this. All right, let me close out of that. So what I wanted, the second point of all this was to point out to you that for the most part, and especially when you do this with a clean, fresh install and no other background programs and nothing else running, that frame rate is fairly decent. And you can change the resolution, move the resolution down to 720, and the frame rate would improve. So that's just awesome. All right, now I can break this connection with this server. We're calling it a server. All right, return my screen to the way it should be so I can see everybody and you can all see me. Bring this back up. There we go. All right. So I intend to experiment with this for a week or two. And when I'm happy with it, if I get happy with it, totally happy, I'm going to do one session one day completely on a Raspberry Pi just to say, what a world, huh? And somebody has been asking me, I don't think it was Andrew, but it might have been Andrew Hutz. Have I run Zoom on Raspberry Pi and people are reporting slowdowns and things like that? So I think we've beaten all that into submission. It's not going to slow down over time because we've got this awesome cooler. It's going to run good normal speed because we've got it overclocked. So again, just a ton of magic going on here. All right. And then the confession. So I, again, have just had a murderously swamped week between the company work and between prepping for this gig tonight and tomorrow. I have had literally zero prep time to set today's presentation up this morning. I started working on it after the loadout, and I started with this project, and it went like gangbusters. I'm very, very pleased with it. I hope you are. Today's plan was to also do other programs that were designed to run on x86 Linux, specifically games. I did not get to them. Now, I've read them over and over and over, and maybe we could even try one real time, but I don't think looking at the time that would go well. And I really hate for something to go wrong and for me to say, well, we'll finish it next week. So I'm going to call this one. We'll let this one live on a high note. And next week, I don't know what I'm going to do. I will certainly have time to experiment with games. And I want to tell you one of the secrets of that thing, what's really cool about it. And if all goes well, I will do games and or wine, and we'll run a Windows program on here, something that's reasonably sophisticated. Because wow, right? Man. All right, let's go see what's happened in the feed with all this rebumping and fixing and fixitudes. I was shocked when this worked the first time. I shouldn't be. And the reason I was is because before Box 86 came along, QEMU was an emulator it was the emulator of choice. And by comparison to Box 86, it's a performance dog. It has the benefit of working on a 64-bit system, but it can be really slow and make your programs run very slow. All right, that I don't need anymore. Okay. This I am curious about. So let's go to that. Good. All right, and then back to questions. I see Scott is still working in the background. I have no idea where I left off, so I'm just going back. I see a good comment that I want to get to. So, all right, yeah, we started this. I started this at 57. So imagine we dropped it off at about 56. Discord after this was, well, yeah, Chianti. Okay, so 257, starting with Andre, some Greek yogurt. Ugh. I just can't do yogurt. Just can't do yogurt. Wine makes it feel a tad sour for me. Okay. You should try good wine, Tellowit. It shouldn't be made from squeezed cats. There, I opened up a can of worms or a can of cats. Yeah, I'll bet you have a recipe for low-hanging fruit. Yeah, a sweet white wine, maybe a Riesling, perhaps. Oh man, I don't need to be here anymore. I'll turn my camera off, and you guys can do recipes for the rest of the day. I have no objection to that. I would read and get some good ones. I did something this week that I haven't done, I guess a week ago, in a decade, a little longer than that. Wow, I came back from Saudi. I did a few years at Continental, bailed on them. Took a year and a half off to become a computer guru again, or guru-esque. and then joined Total, and I've been with Total for about 11 years now. So, but I used to do this thing. We used to do this thing back in Saudi by making pizza out of big, thin pitas. Just cut them in half, and that became the dough. And then, of course, we'd make pizza with good ingredients. But it was such a pain in such a pain to make the pizza dough and pizza crust that we'll just use that as pre-made. So that was an idea that struck us this week. We were shopping, and hey, look, they got big white. They were designed to be pizza flats. So we bought that. We made some homemade pizza, and it was just good. Mostly standard toppings, except for the best one, pineapple, of course. Yeah, Nigel, I'm with you. If you see stuff like this, it gets you excited. When this worked, I was banging around on cloud nine here, so happy and so self-absorbed about it that I looked around a few minutes and said, "Oh my gosh, I haven't set up the studio yet." Recipes. I'm rolling right past. You guys can read them. Yeah. Hey, that one that you have, Scott, that's one that Mike snagged from my DEA kits. I'm shy of one on DEA. As a result of that, Mike will no doubt snag another one. So you can both have them. And of course, no, I didn't give him a Raspberry Pi 4, but I did go down there and do some work with him on it. Fresh tomatoes are canned. Scrolling past stuff here, passing 306. This is where it's great to have Scott here. He will have read it all and say, your next question that matters is at 1523, but I get the joy of reading through all these, and it is a joy. I really like seeing this stuff. I use mine for so many projects. Yeah, so I sent you the link on Discord to run Jellyfin on the Pi. I know you're running Jellyfin on your other box, or Ez, but that's got me stoked. I plan on running Jellyfin this week on the Pi. It's a media server for those of you who don't know. Of course I got fired. Mike was like, what, you took me up on that? That was funny. He was shocked. What, you took it home? Yeah, absolutely. Use fresh ingredients whenever possible. But if it's not possible, Betty rehired you straight away. Yes, he did. Mr. Vice President Jernigan. Done the slow roast tomato in the oven. Takes so many of them to get enough for sauce. I love that stuff. I'll stick something in at 6 o'clock in the morning and not worry about it until the next morning if I have to slow roast that long. My briskets are 18-hour roasts or smokes plus 2 hours in butcher paper in a cooler to rest. So up to 20 hours. Nigel, thanks, people. Yeah, I used to have one, but I broke it. Got to buy a new one, especially now that everybody's encouraging me to do so. Yeah. Well, hopefully your case and your power supply is still functional, so it's not nearly as horrible as having to go get a whole new one. I don't know, $100 for a whole new one can be pricey, but in the grand scheme of things, when you compare it to the other computers we buy, what a deal. Peer pressure. Passing 311. I'm not a fan of Apple myself. Nah, the only good apple comes from a tree. I killed my Ethernet cable tester. That could be, that's an RN. That's an Ethernet cable tester for checking if the wires run. As it turns out, they don't like PoE. I had some questioner not long ago on one of the online forums where we do classes, and he was talking about how he had been promoted to work in the IT infrastructure department, and their current guru would, since you only really need 4 wires to do gigabit Ethernet on pairs 1, 2, 3, and 6. He used the other 4 wires, didn't bother to hook up the blues or browns, and used them, spread them out to hook up to another one. Was that okay? And I just nearly lost my mind. And I wrote him kindly that somebody was insane and really needs a good waterboarding. But no, because exactly what happens here. If somebody fires up a PoE, you're going to fry something in just that quick. Raspberry Pi, you're making me crazy. Won't you please come home? Nobody needed to hear that, did they? Scott likes Apple, but he's no Apple fanboy. We had those at work. Andre, just eat the rest of it and get a real computer. That was funny. Scott thought so too. Nice. I love that. Don't eat the parts you don't like. My story's seldom told. I can't afford Apple stuff. No, not when you got to pay $1,000 for a monitor stand for a $6,000 monitor. I know people who defend that. A 6K monitor, fine. If it's got all the features and cool, it's got cool electronics. But a $1,000 stand that's just a machined and bent piece of aluminum, thank you, no thank you. Scott and I have never had an Apple product apart from iPods 10 years ago. I have iPods. I'm old. I have iPods from almost every generation. Telwit and Scott talking, passing 316. Yes, follow the instructions. I've been saying that for years. Part of my normal lexicon. Ryan Moss has joined us. What Linux distro is this? This is Raspberry Pi OS, formerly known as Raspbian. It's a Linux distro. It's a Debian distro. And Alex answered, and once again, I have wasted time and took somebody else's answer. Sorry about that. Everybody's answering now. I'm seeing double and didn't even drink. Yeah, that was unexpected consequences. I never even thought about what's going to happen on a shared screen doing that. That was pretty darn funny. That happened to me once before doing a totally different thing. Unfortunately, Scott was there to point out, and you guys were there to point out. It's doing that, making an infinite mirror. Yeah, nothing wrong with Ubuntu. The problem with Ubuntu is, well, let's go. They make Ubuntu for Raspberry Pi now. So you could run this on Ubuntu. You could run Box 86 on Ubuntu. But since you have Ubuntu, no, that's it. You could do it. If you run Ubuntu on an x86 machine, you don't need all this nonsense. You can just download the Zoom client natively and run it. But our point here is we ran an x86 application on an ARM Linux distro and an ARM-based computer. That is just magic. Magic. Right. No longer Pi OS. It's Raspberry Pi OS is the official name of the OS these days. No, not your bad. It's okay. Apple speeches Raspberry. I didn't even have to look at the name. I looked at the comment, didn't see the name because I know the name. I'll open this from my laptop because I'm unable to tag people on my phone. Okay. Feel free to tag me. I just super scrolled. And I'm back. Nigel is back as well on his real computer. All right, reading. I'm just going to read quickly here, see if I can find any questions now. Some of these are just back and forth between each other. And I'm not prepared to talk recipes today. Yes, M&M has been done here. Link to unofficial totals discard. So Scott posted at 3:32 the link to Discord. If you guys want to join up there after the AMA. And sometimes folks are there commenting on the AMA while the AMA is in progress, usually pointing out some horrible mistake that I or perhaps Mike or Scott would have made. Scott's never made a mistake, but for the rest, apple juice. I went into a thing about apple juice this week. I was trying to come up with the technical differences between apple juice and cider. There is no difference, but the stuff that's sold as apple juice is often cider, super refined and super flushed and sugar added and all that stuff, and they still call it apple juice. I'm a cider guy, as you know, but cider is gone. The season is past. So I eagerly wait October for cider season to come around. Alex at 333. Scott's a nice guy, but nobody is ban proof. I have seen him ban people. Zach Morrill or as an electric car. That's something that could be banned. I use Discord chat to footnote obscure references that I drop here. That's true. You do. And I like it because mostly people don't bother to delete any of their notes. So after a Discord or after one of these sessions, I can go back and read 60 new messages that happened during the drama. Okay, Zach has gone to bed, 3:37. Hope you're here long enough for us to hear my goodnight, but probably not. Spamming, good night, good night, good night. Best monitor. Oh, I'm about it at the end. That's a good thing here. Buona notte. Best monitor stand ever. No, it's not. The third-party one with the wheels. That's not quite $1,000. That's the best ever. Yes, I did not edit out the one word that Mike said on Wednesday. I let that one pass. I used my own editorial discretion, and Scott didn't call me and say, hey, actually edit that, so it's okay. But it wasn't darn. Maybe Apple will make a power bank and call it Apple Juice. Once again, I don't have to look at the author of that. Do you know anything about the Jetson Nano from NVIDIA? I read just a little bit about it when it came. Oh. Yes. Yes, it was not well received. But no, I never got in depth with it. I certainly never got my hands on one. I read a little bit. I didn't read anything from users, so I would not qualify myself as being able to truly talk about it. I'm going to make a note and go back and add the things to review. You know what? Probably the easiest thing just to copy and paste your post. There's the copy. I'll put this in the old questions. Oh, that'll be good. So we can talk about that drama next week. Notepad, notes, things for next week. Bump. Okay. So short answer, sorry, Andrew, I do not know about the Jetson Nano other than some quick blurbs. Oh, that wasn't. That was Cephodius, huh? Or Cephodius, depending on what country you come from. That was nice. But it definitely sounds like it would have come from Tullowit. Apparently, the idea is for it to be an AI ML development focused SBC, which sounds right up my alley, but I can run TensorFlow on the fly, right, on the Pi. So that's something that I've been looking at very closely is a TensorFlow project. It's an artificial intelligence project. Something simple, object recognition or something. But yeah, there's a lot of really cool TensorFlow labs and projects going on out there. And I would encourage you to take a look into that yourself if you are so inclined. All right, I am caught up. Let me go back into notes and see what I need to do from there. Oh, I know what I need to do. I don't even need to look at notes for that. So let's do a quick share on this. Since we're getting near the end, we got about 12 minutes to go. 11. So this was an AMA. If you didn't get a question answered, if you didn't post a question, if you're watching this not live, you're watching it in one of the archives, and you would like to ask myself or Background Scott or Mike Meyers himself anything, by all means, contact us. You can catch me at daver@totalsem.com because I'm Dave Rush. You can catch Scott at scottj@totalsem.com because he's Scott Jernigan. And Michael Meyers, Michael M at totalsim.com is available. We Steam. I had to take Borderlands 3 off this computer because it was literally giving me close to a frame per second and took over 22 minutes to load. So this machine just isn't going to do it. I've got to resurrect my gaming rig. But I put on some lesser performance games, and I am running those. So you can catch me at Blood Rush TX. You can catch Scott at Scarheart, no E. And Mike is Senor Pepe, 2 words, no Enye, just Senor Pepe. And again, I'm going to leave the Pi Square archive server up all night or till bedtime, so let's say 9 or 10 o'clock p.m. pirsquare.zapto.org. It's up and running and having a good time. If you want to catch any of the archives of this show, you can find them. I'm sorry, this is the another link for the Discord channel. Pause the screen here and write it down and go to it. Remember, it's case sensitive. And if you want to catch any of Mike's shows on the old archives, mine and Scott's shows on the old archives, you will find it at youtube.com, whack user, whack total seminars channel. And there's the tutorial we used today, if you didn't get a chance to copy down or if you're late to the game. That was cool. I had no pictures today, no videos, none of that good stuff. What popped up here? Yeah, I'm done. I got one shirt left. Again, I know it's a little dark in here. You can't see what that is. It's an Imagine Dragon shirt. Next week, I have a country western shirt because I'm open-minded and am willing to go to concerts outside my normal comfort zone. I have Sirius XM as of recently. They have a French folk station on there for the Canucks. And I'll tell you what, you will find me there about half the time as you'll find me on classic rock. I love that stuff. There's more questions. Andrew Hutz, apparently someone made a project to have your Pi use a camera to learn to play an applause track when it sees you raise your hands above your head, like at the end of Rocky. Okay, I like that. That's a fairly simplistic one, it sounds like, for TensorFlow. Once again, I'm amazed. Yeah, really. Tell dig into TensorFlow and look up TensorFlow projects Raspberry Pi. It's a knockout. Jose shared what should be a permanent link for the channel. That's a for the win. I would love to get that and just have that in each of my weekly folders. And I don't have to go and do it on a daily update or every time we do these. So good. Wonderful news. All right, back to this thing. So next week, I have a lot of things that have been on my plate and they've got pushed back because at some point this was going to be a 1 episode thing. Now it's gone 3 and we've got a chance of stretching it into 4. I may do games and or what did I say? Just had it in my head. Oh, wine. So we can run Windows programs on the Pi, or I may pick from something else. I'll let everybody know probably by Monday and no later than Wednesday on Mike's show. You know what? That's another thing that I'll do. I will add to the archive web server next week's show. That'd be cool. None of the above, Andre. But it's definitely one of the folks who's in that same kind of time period when they're all hot and bothered. Tell you what, he does a lot of commercials these days with quarterback. Yeah, from Dallas. Yeah. I didn't watch football last year. I've got NFL out of my head right now. So who? No. Does commercials with the country western singer. Troy. No. Troy. Is it Peyton? Okay. My wife, who is a better football fan than I am, and I'm a good fan, says it's Peyton Manning, and I believe she's right. Why am I thinking Troy Aikman? Doesn't matter. Okay. Mike has a topic, and I didn't write it down. He and maybe Scott will remember what topic he and Mike were thinking about, or Mike was thinking about doing on Monday. It was a deeper dive. Oh, a deeper dive. No, he did that into digital signatures. He did that today, but it was something interesting, whatever it was. All right, more questions. CNW, Andrew Hutz, but it can also notice other things, make weird adaptations, right? It does shape recognition. People are using it to kind of create, it's not enough power in a pie to really pull this off, but they're making artificial eyes and artificial responses. They don't run servos yet for self-driving or automated vehicles. And I think, where that works out really well is like a golf cart. You're too lazy to drag your bag, so you get a cart. Now, driving a cart, that's just getting to be too much. Let me just engage the Raspberry Pi here, and it'll take me where I want to go. Maybe I'll give it some voice input. It's the Discord channel under the invite link. Well, that's the one that I used today. And that may be the one. Yeah, you're thinking Troy too, Andrew. No, it's Peyton. Okay, crossing fingers that he's set to never expire, which is an option. Yeah, if he hasn't done it, if you want to talk to him about that and see if that's a possibility, or if he has done that, that'd be great. And if not, I would be happy to approach him and see if that's possible. But you get along with him. You're one of the moderators there, to my understanding, which we're thinking may come in real handy for something that we're chewing on. Oh, you missed it, man. You should have seen the shirt that Scott had on before we started drama, Andrew Hutz. He had an Eagles shirt on with Jernigan's number on it. All right, well, I'll tell you what. It's getting to be near closing time. Post any final questions. I'm going to do my little final shutdown here that I haven't had a chance to do in a long time. Where'd it go? Oh, because I've deleted over here. Well, anyways, I want to offer my gratitude to you guys. We're getting through this pandemic nonsense. We've still got a way to go. So I'm certainly sitting here as long as anyone will allow. And I hope you're joining me as well. And Scott will be here in the background. And we're going to try and get some good people on this year to do presentations for us. And I'm really hoping that Mr. Lee will be able to come on and talk to us about a 200 pry project that is just beyond exciting for me if it's disclosable. Of course, I want to thank Mike Meyers for giving me this time to share with you, as well as you sharing your time with me. It's a great thing here. We've got a good thing. We got a great CompTIA thing. Does any of what we did today apply to CompTIA? Absolutely, it does. In both A+, to a very lesser degree, Network Plus, and a little bit to Sec Plus. Certainly for A+, we have to understand and be able to answer questions about the differences between a virtual machine, the two kinds of virtual machines, type 1, type 2, and what hypervisors are and do, between emulators and between containers. So we did containers 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, I guess now. Depends how you look at it. So we did that with Docker. And then for 3 weeks now, 3 weeks ago, we started with installing an emulator and talking about what they are, what they are. And we talked about the difference between the 3 different technologies. Last week, overclocking, nothing really special there. What overclocking is and how, yeah, I've designed these stupid things. But pulse doublers, things like that. I'm not using the right word there. My head is gone. I'm getting geared up for this evening's project. And then today, using the emulator, and wow, how cool. Now, how cool would that be if we had an emulator to run Nintendo games? Yeah, they exist, especially on PCs. All right, 30 more seconds here. Last questions here. Closing time. One last call. Yep. But you can't stay here. We allow you to sit and teach. You're very kind. I like you to question me and to provide answers to myself and to others. English is clearly not, my friend. Thanks for hanging to the bitter end just to catch that really awful bit of conjugation. All right. So I'm going to let you all go. Everybody have a wonderful and safe weekend. Get done with this silly nonsense. And until Monday's Mike show and my Friday show next week, I want everybody, let me go over to the right page for a change and say good night. Click and click.